All right, I'm going to bring in Michael Geoghegan. He's a political analyst. He joins me from Victoria today. Michael, good to see you.
Thanks for having me.
I wanted to sort of touch upon the incident that happened at the Trudeau rally yesterday, the sense of course, increased security and the question that was asked. We know that our reporter, CTV's Glenn McGregor, asked the question in terms of, are you going to heighten security? Does this change things or whatnot? And sort of this disinformation that's been coming around over the course of this election, how you think this affects things.
Well, the heightened security was because there's obviously been threats made against Mr. Trudeau and or his family, and the threats were deemed serious enough to go to these heightened security measures. This is not something that would have been done lightly, and it's sad that we're in that kind of situation as a society, but an abundance of caution is better than a tragedy.
No, absolutely. We heard from NDP leader Jagmeet Singh saying today that, he was unfortunate that this has happened. He felt badly for Trudeau. Let's talk about where the leaders are going to stand right now. Big push. We're seeing it from all of them over the course of this long weekend. Advanced polls are open. People are hopefully going to the polls. But the big push to say to voters, we are the best choice for you.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing those Liberal and Conservative numbers, neck and neck, back and forth, Conservatives ahead, Liberals ahead. Now it's looking like the Conservatives are slightly ahead. NDP numbers up. It's certainly very volatile in terms of where the electorate's at.
Where do you think the Bloc is going to factor into all of this, especially with the fact that they are anticipated to dominate the Quebec vote?
Well, it means that a lot of Quebec voters have looked at the situation and said, hey, we're undecided between the Liberals and Conservatives. Let's have the Bloc Québécois as the balance of power. Meanwhile, in the rest of Canada, there's others going undecided, Liberals, Conservatives, maybe the NDP balance of power. So how those final seat tallies come up on election night are going to be pretty critical in terms of who's going to have what influence.
Yeah, exactly. And of course, the NDP, Jagmeet Singh, really working on that momentum. We're seeing there, let's bring the board up once again, the Nanos poll numbers again. You can see a boost there for the NDP now up, close to just shy of 20% there. How do you anticipate that momentum is going to affect things? Could it, in fact, work in favor of the Liberals?
Well, it's kind of a there's an up and a down. The up is that if the Liberals are robbed of a majority or fail to achieve a majority, and the NDP hold the balance of power, it's more likely the NDP would support Trudeau in a minority government situation than Andrew Scheer of the Conservatives. So that's up. The downside is as the NDP numbers go up, they're pulling some of those Liberal votes, which benefits the Conservatives. So it makes a Liberal minority government or even a Conservative majority government more likely. So it's one of those things where it's good on one hand and bad on the other. Yeah,
sort of like this teeter-totter. In which direction is it going to tilt? Advanced polls, as you know, of course, Michael, they're open this weekend, open until from 9 to 9 local time today and tomorrow as well. Do you think if the numbers that we gather from those advanced polls, could they give us a sense of the direction this election will go come October 21st? Or is it just still way too early to tell?
I suspect in this particular election, there's certainly been other elections where yeah, that's the way it's going to go.
Right.
But in this particular election, I think there's I think we're going to get a lot of the decided voters voting early, right? The people who are like, yep, that's who I'm voting for, and I'm ready to go. But for anyone who's undecided or hesitant, I mean, it could break late in the game, so it remains to be seen whether it'll be indicative or not.
And what about that push on the millennial vote side? We know that we spoke to a first-time voter earlier today. She said it was important for her to vote. A lot of young people are concerned about their future, but then there's a lot of people that feel disconnected because they're not getting access and they're not feeling connected to the leaders, so they're not going out and vote. Talk to me about how that factors into all of this.
Well, that's the great unknown. Do millennials stay home? Do they come out and vote? If they come out and vote, who are they voting for? And there's even things like, just as some of the Ford government actions provincially have hurt the Conservatives federally, here in British Columbia, the NDP, they've just changed things in terms of auto insurance, and young voters are getting hit with five-fold increases in terms of auto insurance. Instead of paying $1,000 a month or $1,000 a year, it's more like $5,000. That's sticker shock. It's certainly going to hurt the NDP provincially. But does that in any way impact them federally? That remains to be seen. And also on the
on Vancouver Island and the West Coast. Are those millennials going to go green? Are they going to vote in? I mean, it's going to be one of those elections where we're going to have to wait and see.
Yeah, before I let you go, Michael, what do you think are going to be those deciding issues in this election?
Well, I think bottom line for every Canadian is how, because more and more Canadians, as I've said before, are struggling to just maintain their current lifestyle, struggling to pay the bill.
Yeah.
So they're looking at every party from, okay, they're offering this tax or they're offering this, program over here. What in balance leaves me more able to basically survive at my current living standard, and which doesn't. And that's, I think for a lot of people, that's what it's going to come down to, as well as, of course, overriding issues in terms of the economy and in terms of the environment.
Mm-hmm. We are in the home stretch, Michael. Political analyst Michael Geoghegan. Great chatting with you. Thanks a lot, Michael.